Heather from Booktubes, and today is my January reading wrap-up. In the month of January, I read 16 books. I DNF'd 4, so I'm going to talk about 12 today. It was another low reading month. Almost all of my books were for commitment reads to somebody or something, or were in my blog, so not a lot of reading happened outside of that. The first 3 I'm going to talk about can actually be found in the Kinsmen universe by Alona Andrews. This is a sci-fi novella romance series. It is not a place that I would start with Alona Andrews. It's definitely just something they did for fun, and is something that you should read if you're already an Alona Andrews fan, but not a good place to start. So the first novella, Silent Blade, I gave 4 stars. This is under 50 pages. The beginning is extremely confusing. It's a confusing story. It's a confusing format. You have the first chapter is like 1 page, and then the second chapter is the rest of the novella, so it feels like maybe your ebook is messed up or something. It's not. Also, you start with like a scene that you just don't know why you care. You don't really know who is the main character or what is happening. It's confusing. So just get past like that first 5, 10, 15 minutes, somewhere in there, and then it reads naturally. So this was surprisingly horny for an Alona Andrews book. There's insta-lust. It is second chance, so you have an arranged marriage. They were betrothed as children, basically, and then when she would have been ready to marry him, he broke it off. But he kind of ruined her life in the process. She has been an assassin for her family since then. He's completely unaware of this. She basically lays a trap, and he falls right into it. He falls head over heels in love with her, not realizing that this is the woman that could have been his wife. It has Alona Andrews style when world building in a novella. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. 4 stars. Is it greatness? No. If you're a fan of Alona Andrews and you like on-page sex in your books, will you like it? Yeah, probably. Then the next novella, Silver Shark, I also gave 4 stars. This is 120 pages, so it's significantly longer. This is like psychic warfare where they have mental powers and they are on like an alternate universe, kind of like The Matrix, probably. I never fully watched any of those movies, so I don't really know, but she's a refugee from a war-torn planet. So basically that planet has been at war for decades, and all of a sudden her side loses. They were told that they were winning up to the very last day, and her side loses, and she is a refugee, but she is to completely hide her psychic powers or she would be killed. And she ends up having to work at this psychic company that does security, and she's, you know, trying to prevent everyone from knowing that she has the same ability. It's very interesting, and she has a romance with her boss, so that was fun. Then the last novella, A Mere Formality, is under 50 pages. I gave this 3 stars. This is the one that they wrote on a dare, and is a puritanical society and a political alliance, and she is incredibly clever. He is too. You have an interesting amount of talk about sex and porn without actually having any happening. I liked it. Then I reread A Kiss of Shadows, which is Mary Gentry, #1 by Laurell K. Hamilton. I gave this 5 stars. I was supposed to reread it with Steph at Novelty Corner, and then we said something about it when we were on live or behind the scenes or something with Izzy at Happy For Now and Megan at Meath Vader for the Alona Andrews live show, and they were like, oh, we're in, we want to do it too. So the 4 of us buddy read this. This was my first ever Why Shoes. I didn't know that existed when I read this. It was my first ever monster romance. The tentacles in this scarred me for life. I was not prepared. I've never really been able to get into tentacle scenes because of this series, even though it's like not that bad, but the main character is repulsed, so I am repulsed. But yes, so you have the niece of the queen of the Unseelie court, and she has been hiding from the court for 3 years in the human world, but they know about Fae and stuff. She's working as a private investigator. And then she gets found out because of some magic that happens, and she goes back to the Unseelie court, and she was fighting for her life in duels because her cousin wants her dead. But now the queen is fed up with her cousin and has decided that she will do anything to continue her bloodline, even let this kind of half-breed fae, basically, have a shot at the throne. So whoever can get pregnant first is going to be her successor. So Mary needs to get pregnant and or her cousin needs to impregnate somebody. The queen has all of these guardsmen and they have a celibacy law. They can't have any release whatsoever. But she has lifted that law for Mary only. So you have several of the guardsmen. You're going to keep adding people. She already sleeps with several in this one, but you're going to keep adding people. It does have some outdated language, and obviously Laurell K. Hamilton herself is a questionable figure. She just got in hot water for saying that nobody should self-publish, but then she actually kind of retracted when people were telling her, and she was like, okay, maybe I was wrong, which that was interesting. But it holds up really well as a story, so we're going to continue reading the series together. Again, it's fae. It's all sorts of fae, but also like different monsters and stuff. It's a bit dark. This one not as dark as I remembered, so I know there's like quite a few things still coming, but this one was dark, okay? Someone got their dick mutilated as a punishment. Someone got turned inside out. There was a fae male that was kind of sexually assaulted, but by someone that he is usually consensual with, so a lot of stuff. Then I read Rock Chick Reawakening, which is Rock Chick 0.5 by Kristen Ashley. I gave this 4 stars. I had never read this before. This, I think, is an easy skip. It's up to you. It does kind of show you some of the progression in how Kristen Ashley wrote this series before you jump into book 1, which is pretty outdated. But it's not necessary to read it unless you want to see the beginning of Marcus and Daisy's romance. Content warning, there's rape on page, domestic abuse, reference, infertility, ending in miracle babies. So if any of that is something that you particularly want to avoid, do so. Then I read Yours, which is Toown number 3 by Shon. I gave this 5 stars. I was supposed to read this for the Brazenly Shady podcast with Sharonda and Tama, but I never confirmed, apparently. I confirmed in my mind. So that didn't happen. It might in the future. I'm honestly not sure, but I am glad I read it. So this one is a Black romance. They go to book club together, but he's only going to be able to see her. On the first page, she has a migraine and you have him taking care of her, which was really great. It is Friends to Lovers. She does have a little bit of a stutter that is referenced. It was delightful. Steamy, sweet, so sweet. Like really a lovely worshiping hero. Then I picked back up Midnight, which is number 2 in Kingstown by Shon. I gave this 3 stars. I had previously DNF'd this, I thought because of life stuff, and that was true. But then when I jumped back into it, I remembered how annoying she was because she is just pushing him away for like over a year for no reason whatsoever. We don't get any valid we can't be together. It's just she doesn't do relationships. And I was quite frustrated by that. This is also Friends to Lovers. She just pushed him away too much, honestly. This one is interracial though, not Black love. Then I read Caution, which is Blackwood After Dark number 2 by Christina C. Jones. This is the second in her Black vampire novellas. I gave this 3 stars. She doesn't know about paranormals, even though she is a paranormal, and he's like, well, I'm just going to throw you in the deep end, and that will help you to manifest, and then, because we're fated mates, and things are happening, and we need to get our act together. And I kind of liked a little bit of the ending with that, but overall, just the relationship didn't really do anything for me. There wasn't really much of a relationship to speak of, which again is fine. It's a novella. I have expectations of things being rushed, but it was just okay. Then I read Her Wild Roommate by Adele Knight. This was a recommendation from Brie at 11 Words, and I gave this 5 stars. This is childhood Friends to Lovers. So we have what? Like 3 Friends to Lovers in the last one? I don't like Friends to Lovers at all, but this one was done really well. They have been friends their entire lives. They're roommates. and she is going to try to have sex with her boyfriend, who she ends up breaking up with because he's cheating on her, and she's been unhappy for quite a while. She's going to try to have sex with him in the living room, and the roommate is going to catch her and make eye contact and not look away the entire time. And then she's going to break up with her boyfriend, and then things are not going to go back to friends no matter how much she avoids him. It was really good. Then I read In the Care of Magic, Supernaturals of Bwell #1 by Robin Jo Margaret. I gave this 5 stars. This is a queer, cozy fantasy erotica. This is a new favorite. I will be looking forward to this author's other releases. This is their only release so far. They might have one in March, so I'm hoping for that. This is a sex demon who is aromantic and uses neo-pronouns, and they don't enjoy being a sex demon, so they will often... They don't have to answer any calls, but they can't not have sex and still exist because they were created for sex. So it's not that it's non-consensual, but also like they can't just abstain. So he answers this call from this pansexual, curvy, plus size witch who is feeling very unappreciated by the people in her village, as she should. Honestly, why she went back to them, I don't know. He's going to please her, and they're going to become friends. It is erotica. He is like, I can't do romance. That's not a thing that I feel. But I really loved all of the queer representation on page, the way that they talked about it. I loved the explicit consent, the care that they had for each other's boundaries, each other's pleasure. I loved the cooking and how he was so happy to spend time with her without any sex, and she was happy about that too. Like, it was just great. I loved it. I loved it so much. If you just want coziness with steam, this is so good. Then I read Hey Lover by D.L. White. I gave this 3 stars. This is a second chance romance, and I don't like second chance romances. But it was a novella, and I was like, it'll be fine. Well, it's 200 pages, so not a novella, but it'll be fine. And most of it was, I liked a lot of it. You have a game developer, and then she is the CEO of her family company. His dad had cancer. He was broke. He had just graduated college. She's very wealthy. She has her whole future figured out. She has a lot of eyes on her. And he was like, I can't do this. We're gonna have to break up. And she's, really angry with him 7 years later still, because she just wanted to support him, and he like blocked her. He changed his address. He made everything where like she couldn't. And his dad ended up surviving. So there is not death of a parent, but there is cancer of a parent referenced. And now she's made CEO, and he sends her flowers and walks back into her life. And they go right back to being in love. These are the people that got away. Like, they love each other. But the problem is that they have a lot of the exact same relationship issues that they had 10 years ago, even though supposedly they've both matured so much. And some things are handled really poorly. There's a 3rd act breakup because of it. And I left this book really feeling like they were going to continue having these problems, that they really hadn't fixed the issues in the relationship at all, and that more breakups were in their future. And I think that I really think that 3rd act breakup was a mistake in this one, because you already had so many issues where they'd already broken up and they had like betrayed trusts and things like that. And then you do it again, but in a slightly different way. And that's how you're ending the book. I'm not feeling like these two are able to communicate and not break up every time they have a fight. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. There were lots of things with their relationship and with the writing and with the premise that I liked and really enjoyed. But if I'm leaving the book feeling like these two aren't gonna make it, that's not good. And then lastly, I reread Rock Chick, which is Rock Chick #1 by Kristen Ashley. I gave this 4 stars. It's always been a 4-star. I will say this reading probably would have been a 3-star, but like I'm not going to change the rating based on multiple rereads. So it's very dated. It's very over the top alpha romantic suspense. There's dubious consent. There's a lot of propaganda. She's a cop's daughter. It talks about cop's daughter karma in like the very first chapter, and I was like, what even is that? Like, what is that? every cop is hot or fatherly figure. Every cop is good. Every cop is there to, you know, support her. So very much propaganda. That does get better throughout Kristen Ashley's writing, but it's a lot. She gets kidnapped so many times. So many times. It's ridiculous. So basically, she's been in love with her best friend's brother for their entire lives. And she and her best friend have been trying to get it where she will marry the brother so that they can be sisters and family and, you know, have a daughter named after each other and all of this stuff, right? So they plotted that for a long time, a lot of it when they were underage. And so obviously he was like, no. He's only a couple years older than them. It wasn't like extreme or anything. But so she'd been trying to throw herself at him for about 10 years. And then he was in the military. He was in some special ops type missions. She throws herself at him again, and he basically tells her that he sees her as her sister, right? And then he goes off to war. And then he comes back, she's in a relationship. 10 years later, they still haven't done anything because she stopped throwing herself at him and he never made a move. So now they're in their 30s. She ends up crashing at his place while he's out of town because the barista at her bookshop / coffee shop gets her shot at because he had his diamonds and lost the diamonds, and he wasn't supposed to have the diamonds because somebody paid him in diamonds for weed. So she's thrown into the middle of all of this. He comes home, she's in his bed, and he's like, I'm not missing my opportunity. We're going to date. And she's like, absolutely not. And he's like, yes, we are. So you have a lot of dubious consent, which is very frustrating because as the reader, you know that she loves this guy. This is her dream guy. She wants to be with him. But as person to person, you can't ever be like, nah, she wants to be with him. It's fine that she's protesting. Like, dubious consent. So this is not the best book in the series by any stretch of the imagination. It is a fun, over-the-top, dated time. There's some stuff with calling people fat and dieting and stuff that is quite unfortunate. So yeah, go into this if you choose to, understanding that it's ridiculous, is over the top, is very alpha, and a lot of dated language and a lot of propaganda, which again is kind of par for the course in a lot of romantic suspense. Romantic suspense, your love interest is almost always going to be a cop or an investigator or former military or all the above. Like, that is kind of the name of the game. But yeah, a fun time. I had fun talking to my friends about it on the live show. Is it good? No. It's not good, but you know. So I ended up ending the month with 12 books read and 4 DNFs, right? Of the 12 books read, 5 were diverse, which means that I am 1 behind on my 50% diversity goal. What I will say is that 6 of my non-diverse reads were commitment reads, so I only read 1 book that wasn't a commitment read, 1 book by choice, if you will, that wasn't diverse. So honestly, I'm okay with that. It's right there. And again, for books that I was just picking, I was almost exclusively picking diverse. I am 4 books behind on my 200 books goal at the end of the month, and I am currently reading 4 books. And by currently reading, I mean I'm reading 1 nonfiction and I've started 3 others. So, you know, if I had it DNF'd for, I'd be on track. If I had finished the books that I'm reading, I would be on track. If I read half the month, I would be on track, you know. So let me know if you want to know updates on the goals at the end of the wrap-ups. But that's it. That's all of the books that I read in January. Let me know if you have read or want to read any of these. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.